back to the farm. My name's Ben, and on yesterday's video, we built this child slide. So, nice thing about it is it's going to actually just clip on to our handrails of what we already have around the deck. But what's nice about something like this too, and I didn't even think about it until today, and I was kind of moving things around, you could easily just lean this on top of a straw bale or hay bale or something like that. So, I mean, it's a simple slide for kids. So if you have a hay bale or straw bale around, you could easily slap this together and just throw those out in your yard and you're good to go. So what we're going to do in today's video though is we're going to actually seal it with epoxy and we're going to color it. So we got some spray paint and some glitter that we're going to add to some of the epoxy. But the first thing that I want to do is I actually need to tape off the sides. Because what I want it to do is I want the flat slide part to be one color, and then I want to try to make the sides a different color. We'll see how that goes. So I'm just going to take my blue painter's tape, and anything that I do not want colored in this coat is what I'm going to tape off. So I take these mixing cups, they're relatively inexpensive, and I think I'm just going to do 16 ounces. So I'll do 8 ounces of A, 8 ounces of B, and I'll see how far that gets me down the road. So if I remember correctly, you're supposed to do the B first and then A second. I might have that backwards. Let's see how this goes. Yeah. The B is your hardener. And it is a little more viscous, a little more runny. So if you start with that one first, I think it mixes better. So I'll just set B out of the way. And A is my resin. So I did 8 ounces of B. So now I'll do 8 ounces of resin. And this stuff is kind of more of a syrup. Kind of reminds me of like corn syrup or something like that. So I'm going to keep going until I get to the 16 ounce mark. Okay. Ooh, I hope I don't get that on the camera. Then I got my paint mixer on my drill. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to mix it for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside in a place where it can just drip and kind of hopefully clean itself to a degree. And I got my paintbrush for chopping and breaking it up. Now, you're supposed to use a 1/8 by 1/8 inch trowel at this point, but I cannot find mine, and since I'm not going to town anymore, we're just going to have to use the brush to try to make this as smooth and even as we can. And it's a child slide, so if it's not perfect, it's going to be okay. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Hint of gold. Okay. And this is a child's slide. So, you know, colors, or just think of some fun colors. And yes, this is the base color coat, but at the same time, I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to put multiple color coats on to build all of this up. And this is kind of where your chopping comes in, is it kind of just helps move those colors around. And it gives you some very interesting patterns by doing this. So now I'm just coming through with the Wagner heat gun on its highest setting. Which is supposed to be 1300 degrees. So if there's any air bubbles in here, we're hoping that it'll pop them. This is where you'd also use like a propane torch as well. So this is just my first coat. The next coat we'll try a couple of different other techniques to try to get a little bit more color going on. Probably try to get a little bit more purples in there. So neither of us were happy with the look of the first color coat. So we're pretty much just spray painting over it. So that way come the second coat of epoxy, there will be an actual color base to help hide the plywood and just to give it a different effect. And yes, we're doing artwork in the dark, and we can't even see the colors that we're putting down anymore. video, we actually went ahead and epoxied the slide, and the final result was a very interesting little accident. So what ended up happening was, at some point I had moved the slide around and didn't have it perfectly level anymore, so it was just slightly slanted towards the top of the slide. And so when Mama Llama did what she was trying to do was do little bullseyes or starbursts, I guess is what she was calling them, kind of like just that splash of, and the color going out. That was the effect she was trying to go for. But we ended up doing that in the dark, so that last little bit, she couldn't see what colors she was putting down. She was literally guessing. And we walked away from it not knowing what it looked like. And when we came back to it that morning, what happened is that top layer of color had sloped and dragged towards the top. So that's ultimately how we ended up getting exactly what we got. So when we saw that we screwed up and we had that accident, we fell in love with it. We thought that is the color coat, that is what we want. So that's how we ended up making it. It was a complete accident. In part 3, I plan on doing the actual side rails, and I will probably be using more browns and coppers and golds and things of that nature, because I want it to try to blend into our actual existing deck. And then hopefully I'll install it and we'll see what the girls think of it. So again, like, subscribe, hit the little notification bell, all that helps, and I hope you enjoy this. This is Ben from MD Triple Creek. Good luck to you in your projects.